Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the jerk-off wearing a blue hat and a black shirt. I'm here to talk about Danaa Batgerel versus Brady Hiestand. Danaa is 33 years old, 10 years older than Brady at 23. And that's why he's got twice the experience that Brady does. Literally, he's got twice the record. 12-4 versus 6-2. And Danaa is a very dangerous knockout artist. Of his 12 wins, he's got 8 knockouts, 2 submissions, 2 decisions. And his 4 losses include 1 by knockout, 3 by decision. He lost 3 of those fights in the UFC, 1 outside the UFC. The 3 decisions come to Hiestand in his debut, a fight in which it was very, not close, it was very fun though, and competitive, but he had his eyes smashed up, and down the stretch he was being taken down and controlled largely. And then he lost his last 2 fights against Chris Gutierrez, who knocked him out with a spinning back fist. I initially thought it was an elbow, but I settled back on back fist after rewatching it. And then he also lost his last fight to Kwang Ho Kang, who beat him by decision. Kwang Ho Kang largely beat him with a jab. Straight punches down the center were kind of making Danaa look kind of limited. You know, especially after he built up some nice momentum, getting 3 consecutive knockouts in the UFC over Kevin Natividad, Guido Canetti, and most impressively, Brandon Davis, who's very fucking tough. But then he looked a little limited against Kwang Ho Kang, and Kang also got him down in the end, in the 3rd round. But generally, I thought he was exposed a little bit on the feet there. The thing is, Brady Hiestand isn't going to be able to duplicate that performance. He's going to need to grapple, because that's where Brady is incredibly strong as a fighter. And Danaa's other loss, actually, I should mention, came from grappling. That's the one loss that primarily came from grappling. I don't know the guy's name. I forgot it. I don't think I wrote it down. But either way, he's a Mongolian guy, and he also beat Hiestand. So he's under the radar, doesn't have much of a name, but must be a solid fighter. Anyway, Brady Hiestand, as I said, he's a grappler, 23 years old. He is going to have an inch of height and reach, which might serve to help him, on the feet in a way to survive or, navigate against the reach. Might also hurt him getting takedowns, with a higher center of gravity and whatever. But either way, Brady, he's 6-2, which is filled with mostly awful competition, but some very good competition. I mean, he's got some very valuable wins in the second half of his career so far, but the first half is against guys, I mentioned it in my last video, I don't know, it's something garbage, like 3-30 win-loss record for 4 opponents. Either way, he's beaten some really good guys since then, and I trust the guy I've seen in the last few fights, the guy that came through the Ultimate Fighter. Brady Hiestand is talented, and he's got a lot of great intangibles. He can fight hard for 15 minutes. He can take it, getting hurt. Was dropped in his last fight, in fact. And he can fight really hard in a winning, losing effort. I trust his grit. He's definitely got something there. He did suffer 1 loss by TKO. He's got 2 losses, 1 by TKO, 1 by decision. The knockout loss comes to Chad Anheliger, who I believe is still a UFC fighter. Maybe he was cut, I don't know. But either way, that guy's a comeback guy. His whole story is a comeback. If you go look at his record, I think he lost his first 5 fights and then won his next 12 and then lost his last 2 or whatever. But either way, that guy turned things around, and in a bunch of individual fights, he also turned things around as well. So that guy's grit personified, and it was just a tough matchup for Brady Hiestand, who was 19 at the time. Which means that's probably his Christian Rodriguez moment, which we just saw a few weeks ago. Christian Rodriguez had a rough first round with Raul Rosas Jr. and then tamed him. Tamed the youngster. The youngster hadn't been there in round 2, or maybe he had once, I think, but not against anybody of Christian Rodriguez's caliber. Brady Hiestand, I think he ran into that with Chad Anheliger, but I trust him now. I trust him to be turning it up in the middle of a competitive fight with a seasoned fighter, in the middle of the fight. I trust him down the stretch. And that's really impressive for a guy who's still only 23. But still, he's got one other loss, and it was to Ricky Turcios. You can argue he was out-hustled in that fight. Turcios won round 3, but Brady was still throwing down hard. That was a 15-minute war. Really, one of the best fights of that year. And, I've seen it a few times now, and it only makes me trust Brady Hiestand more. The thing is here, he's got to be careful of Danaa Bakiri. Danaa Bakiri hits much harder than Fernie Garcia. Fernie Garcia's got one knockout or TKO in his 15 wins or whatever, 10, 15 wins. Danaa Bakiri, he's got 12 wins, and 8 of them, 67%, come by knockout. And as we've seen in the UFC, a lot of them come in the UFC. Every win of his in the UFC is by knockout. So when you're getting him at the highest level you've ever fought at, that means that's who you are as a fighter. And Brady definitely has to watch out. He can't afford to get lazy with Danaa at all. And I don't think he should be trying to, mix it up too much in the pocket with him. I know Brady's got to mix it up, but he should be trying to get Danaa down, which a few guys have. But Brady Hiestand, he's definitely got, he's a talented fighter, and I'm picking him to win, to be honest. His money line is now plus 125 as of now. I liked it when it was plus 110, to be honest. I don't love it, but I like it. I do think he's going to win this fight. If you would ask me how he'd win, late submission is always possible, but Danaa's never been submitted. I would say decision is most likely. Brady Hiestand, and withstanding some offense from Danaa, which will probably be some scary moments, but overall taking over this fight with grappling. Brady Hiestand, we've seen him in wars. That war with Josh Reddinghouse on The Ultimate Fighter, and Vince Murdoch, which I should have mentioned in breaking down his fights here. Two of his best victories are not counted on his record. They're exhibitions. But he beat Vince Murdoch and Josh Reddinghouse, both with grappling, but the Josh Reddinghouse fight was a war. Very much like the Ricky Turcios fight and whatever. He's definitely shown a lot of grit, Brady Hiestand, and he's thrived against good fighters. So I'm taking him. I'm taking the upside here. Brady Hiestand, I think he's got a great future, and I think this is a very important fight, but I'm trusting him to get the victory. Brady Hiestand by decision, and I'm just going to play his money line at plus 125. Like, share, subscribe, all that horseshit. Check out my other videos. And don't forget, you can always hedge with Danaa Bakiri getting a knockout in round 1, because I think that's probably most likely for him. But like, share, subscribe, all that horseshit.